and I'ma get it. You know I be on the way. Yeah. You know I be on the way.
What's up, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Hall, and with me today is oh man, I meant to write down, what was your Dale? Oh, wait, hold on. What is it? Not Directive Dale. Damn it.
Oh.
What was it? What was
You want me to do it?
Yeah, say it.
Delegation
Yeah,
Dale.
there it is. And with me is Delegation Dale, world's only sports management degree employee.
Yeah, there's no one. Literally, when I went and got that degree, everybody was like, "What are you going to do?" I don't know. I guess no one knows. Like, I've been to interviews where they're like, "Hey, you're definitely qualified for this job, but could you explain to me what your degree actually is?" Like, I don't think I'm qualified. If you don't know what my degree is, I'm out.
I have no business doing any of it.
My bad.
Yeah, so on the show today, so I'm super hyped. Let me get my notes popped up here. I have them ready here. There we go.
Oh, he's got the Drogon notes.
Well, I have to, but see, because I don't have my glasses, I can't see them very well.
Yeah, we already had this conversation. Drew doesn't have his glasses on, so who knows what happens from here on out.
Now, I will lead it in with this, but I'm gonna hit up our sponsors on it too. So, we have a guest in the studio today, former downhill rider, is literally still changing not only the landscape of the work environment. That's my segue into you'll get a shameless business plug, but also change the landscape of mountain biking. He's introducing a whole lots of ideas into the space, which I think is huge. We've talked about a lot. I think it's a big part of community, which is part of our conversation we like to have, is how important community is to mountain biking, certainly in areas where we all are. And I will tee him up with that. But first, I'm going to shamelessly plug that I ran this week for the first time in a while. And I ran in shoes that I bought from Run and Try, and my feet did not explode.
Do you know how proud, if Aaron actually listened to this, he would be? I always like play our intro to his ad,
Yeah.
and he giggles. He's like, "That's funny." Barely doesn't sound like that, but it would be great if he did.
But I legitimately, and I haven't run in those shoes in a while, but having shoes fit to you properly makes such a big difference. It's huge. It works out really well.
Actually, if you work in shoes, I'm the only one on this podcast right now that doesn't work, so I can do whatever I want. But if you work in shoes, you need ones that fit well, and you can walk in.
Supportive. Oh, yeah.
And Run and Try is your place for that.
There it is, Run and Try. So we have a shout out to him because we didn't do a great job of plugging him last week. We tried this game where we were going to just sneak him in, and then we forgot about all of our sponsors. So we have to do the right thing and just get them all in right now. And it's just like anything else. We're just tuning up. We're just tuning up.
Plus, some of it comes back. It's like a comedic thing. Like it comes back to the beginning. Like remember when we threw it? Yeah, it doesn't ever come back.
It never comes back. Speaking of which, shout out to Jody and the crew at Build Tune Ride. Again, just knowing that they're in our back pocket is awesome. Knowing that the quality of work they have, they've sent us some awesome prize support stuff that we're going to drop at some point. I don't know when that's coming out. There's an amazing, very expensive gift we're about to put out there for you guys to win. Super hyped about it. It is downhill related. It is
Crashish related.
Well, I hope we never need it related.
I hope whoever wins it never needs it.
It's a giant inflatable ball.
Actually,
Just kidding.
To prevent from having to need it, you could go to Summit Bike Academy and you can learn your skills and hone them so that, hey, maybe you don't need that.
Just switch between cameras.
Go faster. Go faster.
Want to help something a little more stronger.
There it is. See, and then you have a real rider tell you the way to approach it. But yeah, that was a good segue into Summit Bike Academy. That's our good friend Toby Cortez over there at Summit Bike Academy, which you can go to. Shred with Summit, not Shred for Summit.
Nope,
you shred for Sloan and you shred with Summit.
That's right.
Shred for Sloan is getting so many free.
I know,
they get so much free advertising at this point just from my stupidity and so forth. I should just get it tattooed on my forehead.
Oh, hey, but you could do that at Man of War Tattoo. I think you should. Man of War Tattoo for all your tattoo and stick figure needs.
All right. Now we're done. Is that everyone?
Yeah. By the way, just to jump back on the Shred 4 Sloan-ish, they just had that, and I think it was very successful.
Oh, good.
It was pretty cool. Some of the stuff that came out from there, and we had our boy Hagen in there.
Hagen in there was there. And that was Chase Girard.
Yes.
Funny enough.
Good job.
Funny enough, You go by Girard, yeah?
I do. Yes.
And now we have a Girard.
That's right.
Huh? I segued.
That was a pretty good segue.
That was a good segue.
No, it wasn't that great. He's the first time. So there's a lot of first times that we're gonna have on this. First time doctor, PhD.
Yeah, that is
He's
true.
a PhD. That's a fair statement.
Yes, fair. I am a PhD. Yes. Yes.
He's
Still paying for the
PhD.
loans. Yes.
So we have a PhD. Our first doctor, the PhD. First professional that legitimately rode downhill.
Yeah.
UCI qualifying. I noticed that. You did that. Yes.
I did. Yes. Yes.
First person from Illinois.
Nah, it was Aaron.
Do we have Aaron on though?
We did, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, you're right. He is from Illinois.
Yeah.
So not the first Illinois guy.
What about Colorado?
No,
First Colorado guy. There we go.
go.
Definitely the first person from Durango
And Louisiana.
and Louisiana. No, because Toby. You can't say that. We don't count
Sorry,
Toby.
Tobe. You actually are part. You, Toby, are part of us now. So you're from Mobile, actually.
You're trapped. You're trapped in this environment forever. No, it's awesome to have you on the show. I obviously did. I did a little bit of research. I remember you. So you probably don't realize such things. Maybe you do, but I remember you for two stories. The first story comes from Dale, who told the story about you guys were in a race together in Ridgeland. We were trying to figure that out this morning.
I think. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was original.
He tells the story about you guys riding in Ridgeland, and he talks about, and he told us, he was like, this dude was so fast. That's what he told me. And he told the story. It's like, this guy was so fast. He was like, I've never seen anybody go that quick. So you did really well in that race. Apparently, I think you won it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because I did not win it.
You did well though.
No, I got third. I'm fine. I was on the podium. Yeah, I got a picture with you. It was
Yeah.
cool.
It's awesome.
But he talked about how fast of a rider you were. He's like, this dude's really good. And you know, he was talking about it because I think we were talking about downhill stuff, and he was talking about bike position, and the way you rode was very professional. Like it didn't look like just a bunch of weekend Joe
what I
schmoes.
look like.
Right.
Oh, come on, you right.
It looked legit. And so I remember that. And then we go to this race at Bogachito, roller coaster of love or whatever that
It was a coaster of love, I think.
is that what it was?
Yeah, I think
It
so.
was an enduro at Bogachito. And we did that race. And you podiumed that one, and you won that one as well in open class.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And I was like, that's the guy. And I know you because I'll never forget for as long as I live, you have this very bright Yeti SB
Yes.
150.
It's a 150, SB 150. Yes.
Right, SB
Yes.
150.
Yes.
And you can't mistake it. You can't hide from it. You see it, and it goes by in a blur, and there it goes. And there's no way to get around it. And so it was one of those things of like, oh man, this guy's awesome. That's cool. Like Dale's like, he's going to come on the show. And then I start doing research. And it's always interesting whenever we have anybody on the show, we have these conversations, you know, we're going to like, oh, we're going to talk about bikes. You
Right.
came and rode the Reb. We sit around
Loved
and oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
We sit around and bullshit about bikes. I
Right.
hear some tech talk.
Yeah.
Like that all goes over my head because I have no mechanical knowledge. But listening to or knowing that you were coming, I look up this stuff, and you have this, you know, because I'm a business guy, so I appreciate that. You have this insane background. You have an insanely cool story that's mountain bike related that ties into business, however it ties in because you're chasing something, and then it lands. Then you land here, and I've known that you're a great rider, so it makes this, to me, it's much more of a compelling thing. So I think your story is really awesome. So I'm gonna do something we don't normally do, which is be mildly formal for a moment.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna go to the beginning because there ain't a lot of hills in Illinois.
No. Illinois, yes.
So that's how my friends in the Midwest used to say. Yeah. So I gotta ask. I gotta ask. Like, if you're in Illinois and it's flat, how in the hell? Because you had this quote. I read this quote from you. Said that one of your goals was to be like a world champion downhill. You didn't say mountain biker. The quote I saw said you wanted to be a world champion downhill mountain biker. And sir, I must know, how the hell do you get to that point living in Illinois that's flat and farmland?
Yes. Oh man. Woo.
Welcome to the show.
I'm gonna plug old school ABC Wild World of Sports.
Oh, I remember that.
I forgot what the tagline was, but I think failure or defeat. I don't know. They had a great tagline. But there was only two loves I ever had. I don't know how I got hooked at it. My dad's from Louisiana. My mom's from Tennessee. They never grew up in mountains. They're no to like family ski trips. But I saw downhill ski racing when, I don't know, I think I was like 7. Like, is it Olympics, Winter Olympics? Love the Winter Olympics. And I'm like, holy shit, I want to do that. And I'm like, I'm looking at cornfields. Because I literally grew up in an area, it's actually Kankakee County, St. Anne, Illinois. The population growing up near St. Anne, and I lived in the cornfields of St. Anne. I went to grade school in St. Anne, and you drive the bus, and you say, hey, welcome to St. Anne, population 600.
Oh, wow.
Now, today, 2020, and so I was like 1980, 85, and all that stuff. 800. No, I think it crossed over to 1,100 people. I think a few people stayed back. Where they
1,100 people.
Is infrastructure good enough? Like,
there are kindergartens in some cities bigger than the town. So, but I fell in love with downhill skiing, and also I grew up racing BMX bikes.
Okay,
So
that's a Midwest thing.
I was Midwest. I knew, and I grew up at the time too, like Todd Lyons, Craig Reynolds, Eric Cunningham, and all those guys. These were all very well known nationally, and I did some national. I won like ABA Grands when like in '85 or something like that. But I just
Oh wait, hold up. You watched Rad?
of course,
Yes, thank you.
yes, who
Yes. The Rad is the greatest movie of all time, Drew. No offense. It's the greatest movie of all time.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I raced Rad and I haven't seen it in a while. But funny, and I'll get to an awesome Rad story because I raced for a guy who was in Rad.
Oh gosh.
Plug him, Robbie Root.
Miranda.
No, Robbie Root.
Oh, okay.
So it was Air Root and Robbie Root. Robbie was one of the. He raced for Schwinn and all that stuff. So so around there, so I just grew up. I had so I raced BMX. I was a adrenaline junkie. Skateboard a little bit. I was a horrible skater. Actually, I picked up skateboarding again to work on my feet muscles. But when it was time to pick a college, my parents were like, where do you want to go to college? It's like, I want to go to the tallest mountain. Wherever there are mountains, that's where we're going. They said, well, my mom wanted me to get to Tennessee. That's where she was from. And he said, well, what about Chattanooga? Chattanooga is really cool.
Oh, Chattanooga's my jam.
I wish I would have bought in Chattanooga 30 years ago than now. But I was out west. So I picked Durango because, I jumped into all that. So at that time, I didn't really know much about downhill racing, but I knew about mountain biking. My brother was 7 years older, and he he was looking at mountain bikes. He also had motorcycles. These were shitty motorcycles, like double shocks, like no
Steel
RM
tanks.
120. Yeah, it was like KXE 175. It was like a turd. And I always just dream, I want to do those downhill ski racing or the Dakar. I was like, I wanted to do the Baja. I wanted to do
You
Dakar.
were going for like broke from the getting.
He's like, I'm from the cornfields. Anything is going to be amazing.
And so it was funny. So riding the cornfields taught me how to ride rough at speed.
Yeah.
Because you run across like soybean or cornfield roads. If you pin it, you just stay on top. Mm-hmm. And that when we learned how to ride rocks, I was like, oh yeah, it's like riding through the cornfields again. Just ride fast or the things, so you just stay. You don't get caught in the bottoms. So all that helped out downhilling, but I didn't. I got to share. I want a picture I'll share with you. So I knew I couldn't. Downhill ski racing was the thing. I didn't grow up that. So I was going to go to Colorado. I had the skills of a BMX rider, and I had friends who crossed over from BMX into mountain bikes. And this is early, like 1992, 94 at time. So I had a great time doing that. And I said, I'm going to do downhill mountain bike because I sucked at cross country. I tried some cross country races in Illinois. I got lapped. I got last. I was out there like huge skater shorts, seat slammed down, and I was sprinting. A lot of people, because when I was racing cross country, I did the same start, but I didn't have the fitness. So I would whole shot the cross country race.
Right.
Until like 200 yards in, I'm maxed out and everybody just goes past me and I'm suffering the whole race. But somebody told me, downhill ski race, downhill mountain biking, and dual slalom. You'll love it. You'll do well. And that's how I got hooked up on that. And I'll tell some stories. I'm sure you have some stories, but the whole racing thing at that time was crazy. I was hitchhiking across country. I don't know how the hell my parents trusted me that much at 18.
In
when
the
I have a
90s, too.
15-year-old. In the 90s. Yeah, there's no social, there was no cell phones
No,
like
no.
to check in on you. But literally, I would go from Durango to Vermont to Big Bear, hitchhiking, no ride.
Dude.
Just you and a bike? Like,
Me
how
and a
does
bike.
that?
Yeah, me and a bike. And it
I
kind
mean,
of picked up. Yeah.
you can't even. There's no other story I've ever had anybody on the show regarding bikes be like, so I went hitchhiking from Durango to Vermont and then to like, how is that? How does that even happen? Like, how do you even go through this process of?
Well, I had a little science to it. So
He didn't have his PhD yet, but he was working on it.
it was I was on the side of the interstate with a bike and a bag and a black kid with dress, thinking I was going to get a ride to Vermont. And if he were to pick me up, I had to be kind of suspicious. So the year I was still in Illinois, I worked at bike shops like when I was in 8th grade. Probably was I don't know how my parents let me do it. Well, I know why, because they didn't want to pay full price on BMX parts. And so I was working at a bike shop. So there was a bike shop in about an hour from the house in Palos Hills. They did a lot of mountain bikes. So I begged them to let me work at your shop, blah, blah, blah. That first summer, I got a mountain cycle St. Andreas. I remember I worked all summer, and my dad still had to clear the bill at the shop for my race bike. But I did a race in Michigan City. I did, at that time, it was a Norba UCI basically did race in Michigan City. I raced, well, slalom was open. I raced downhill. I did pretty good. I was like top 10 and an expert of that, people all over the country. And then I did dual slalom. So I beat Miles Rockwell my first run, and then he barely beat me in the second one. And I used to look at, he was at Yeti. I used to look at these people. I'm like, holy shit, I want to do it. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was it. I was just going to do it. So during that time, I met some people, like we were camping out, met some people from Colorado, some from Tattoo Lou he was moving from New Jersey or New York to Colorado. So we kept in touch. He said, all right, how much money do you budget? He said, well, try to save up enough money to live off $10 a day. That was my budget. $10 a day.
Smokes.
And so I worked double time at the bike shop. I was in school, and I saved up enough money, and my parents would say, they let me go to Durango. I said, I'm going to Durango. Unloaded my truck, and the Iron Horse Rally race was there. And I have a picture of what I looked like of the Iron Horse I brought. Unloaded my truck, and Lou said, well, if you have money, you could catch a ride with us because we're doing the whole tour. So I hooked up with them, and that was, and I didn't even know, I like a couple guys on the phones and stuff like that. And this dude was pure, if you looked at him, he used to be on, like, he used to manage like punk bands. So I really couldn't tell if you were a skinhead or, and he's really aggro. But I'm like, shit, I'll just try it out. If he's a skinhead, he would cuss me out already or just wouldn't answer my phone call. So I was like, I'm going to wing it. I don't know if this guy has, dead bodies or anything. But we're like brothers, and we race. Actually, he created. We developed the Kawasaki team. I ended up racing for him, but that was my first. I actually hitched rides, and there's some rides he wasn't racing going to. I meet people at the races. Hey, are you going to California? Yeah, we got room. Split gas. Jump in their car. Take my stuff out.
Dude, that's
Unreal.
awesome.
Go across. Sleeping on floors. Going to random people's houses in between races, and I did that for several years, like 4 or 5 years. Now I was in Durango, but the worst of all of that, not really the worst, probably my first, I think it's really, if I didn't have bad luck, I had no luck. Like I would crash, I would flat. One season, I think it was my first season or second season, I had no points to show for it. I literally hitchhiked across the country from Durango to Vermont to Mount St. Anne to Quebec, Mammoth, Spokane, Washington, back down to Utah, Colorado, whole summer, probably 200,000, like 150,000 miles of driving. No points. 0 points to show for my freaking racing. And it's such a hard call to make home. Like, well, how did the race go? I crashed. How did the race go next? I'm in a whole another time zone. Broke the bike.
Man, and I got $10.
But I say I didn't ask for money. I never, but that taught me so much about life. and how to overcome it. But yeah, there was like 3. It was a long time. I didn't really do well at all. And let's stop. Let's get some more questions. But yeah, long story.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah, no.
That's how I kind of got into from Illinois, which is no mountains. Just really, it was skeet racing on Downhill World of Sports, and then downhill mountain biking came across. I said, well, I don't know anything about skis, but I know how to ride a bike.
See, what's fascinating to me is like that's it's one of those things where something got to your, that's part of your soul. That's like a core moment that got unlocked.
Right.
So that little video on ABC's Worldwide of Sports, which we all grew up watching, we all know it, right? Because we're all in approximate same age range. Seeing that unlocks something that then drives you so much that you go out there. But I read something else in terms of that, because you went to school in Durango, right?
I did. I went to Fort Lewis. Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's a whole nother story on my career path.
But you had a reason for that as well, though, that I did read about. That was and ties back in. So like the motivation is you can go to this mountain side of things and learn stuff, but then you had this drive that I think at the time, did I see you quoted you wanted to be in the CIA or FBI or something?
FBI, yes,
yeah, FBI.
yes.
But so you were driven on that side for criminal justice,
yes.
Is essentially what it is. Did the school inform some of that? Like making that decision, you looked at Durango and said, okay, I can go ride my ass off and I go to school here.
Yeah.
Is that how that worked out?
It did, yeah, yeah. My dad was, my dad had his PhD and my mom had her master's. She would have had her PhD, but she got pregnant with me and then she had to stop. But she always calls me her PhD, so which means I had to get my PhD somehow, for just
for principle's sake.
So I wouldn't be stuck at the kiddie table, because my brother's an MD from University of Pennsylvania, but that's a whole nother story there. But so really during that time in Southeast Chicago, and you kind of know in some of the Midwest, crime just kind of overrode. During our time we were there, especially Kankakee had a lot of small manufacturing jobs. The economy was strong. A lot of people had good jobs. And then like in the 80s, everything came south. It was in Alabama and other areas. So what I saw come in was crime, kind of hope, opportunity and hope went out and crime, despair kind of moved in. So, and I said, man, it was there because I used to go street ride and skateboard and kind of see stuff that was kind of shady, but it didn't really hit home. I had a friend that played a lot of street basketball, and he was waiting for a game. One shot went out, not intended to hit him, but it hit him right in the heart. He was dead immediately.
Oh, shucks.
So that kind of pissed me off. And then we had an older lady that my parents rented a room from, kind of above garage apartment, Miss Barrasso, and a guy. And I kind of, when I came to age, I used to take care of her, cut her grass and take care of her house. She didn't have any kids or anything. So a guy broke in her house, mentally ill, and brutally murdered her. So,
holy cow.
And this is like around, the formative year, like around 14, 15 or 16. My parents really thought I was going to do business because I always was hustling to race bikes. I had a lawn business. I was making speaker boxes. My parents were school teachers, so they didn't have like money to take me on these races, and I wanted good shit. So I had a side hustle, and they said, well, Gerard's definitely going to do business because he just loves, doing stuff. But when that happened, an FBI agent came to my school. I went to a Catholic school, and he was talking about his job. And he was like, man, fly around the country, lock up the bad guys. And, it's adrenaline rush. And that hit me. I was an adrenaline junkie. Right. I was like, shit, you get paid for it?
Right. And all around the country?
And I saw all this stuff going on. That kind of gave me the answer. It's like, I want to do that. I want to be a crime fighter too. And so when I went to, and Fort Lewis came across, so this was during the early stages of Desert Storm. So I could have gone into the military and be a military police and fast track into the FBI, or go to college and major in different things. I picked sociology because I like the profiling side of stuff. But Desert Storm was going on, and then I was typically kids in the 90s listen to way too much Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy. And so that was kind of my brain too. So, I can't do that fucking war. I can't do that. I'll apologize. You got to edit some stuff out. So I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then I started falling in love with mountain biking. And I was like, well, and then I didn't know about Durango, but somebody mentioned, well, Durango's pretty cool. They got a small college there, Fort Lewis. I did some research on there, and they did a lot of work in the community, and they had a great sociology program. At the time, I was looking for criminal justice. So I went there. This is funny. So I was like, all right, I'm going there because of mountain biking. It's small, and it was affordable. That's another thing. I was in Illinois, out-of-state tuition.
Yeah,
Was a
murder most of the
oh
time.
my
It's
God,
brutal,
huge.
right? Yeah.
So Durango's out-of-state tuition was really reasonable, and then they had a club team that I was able to kind of finagle my way on because it was cross. They didn't have downhill, but I used to train with them on the roadside because it was right before downhill season. And
Brilliant.
the team kind of worked it out and gave me in-state after that. So that
Brilliant.
Nice.
yeah. So it was really cheap for me to go. And then I lived in eventually we bought a trailer. So I lived in a trailer park, but I owned it I bought it for like 10 grand. My parents actually helped me. So I was able to live rent free.
And
so
then-
I had a
nice.
roommate that paid for the lot fee, and we just so we had a little hustle thing. Like Dave Ramsey really had anything on me at that time. I was on a super budget, dude, right there. And then part of it. So yeah, so that's basically. But what was so funny during that time, I was my first meeting with my major professor. So, Gerard, what are you going to do? I'm going to be FBI agent. I'm going to lock up all the bad people. Like, I was so aggro. I said, I want to win the World Cup downhill, and I'm going to be an FBI agent. That's all I care about. Now, I was literally just aggro on that. And then once I started working with kids in the community who were on parole and probation, I quickly learned, like, those kids, one, we were very close in age, but two, we weren't that much different. It was just a lot of them were in economic hell, and the families were either alcoholics or something like that. It's like, listen, you're basically they're just making poor decisions out of poor options or options that they knew of because nobody was really mentoring or guiding them. So you could do this instead. Even though nobody in your family is doing that, but there's other options to get you out of this hell. So I quickly learned it's like. And then there was a time of like private prisons were growing and all that stuff. And it's like, man, if I go in the FBI, I'm not helping. I'm going to be hurting more than I'm trying. My goal is to help people. And so it changed my whole direction in life. And rightly so. If I would have been an FBI agent, I wouldn't have been that long because I think I probably felt too constrained and really kind of been like, realized way late in life, like, am I really helping people? Or
man, you're speaking to the choir.
So-
Like it's one of those things. Like when you have that moment, career path wise, like it happened to me before, and for me, it was in the film industry. I had my break in. I was making movies, and the question for me became like, am I really helping people? Yes. There are times where someone can go watch a movie and it's escape. I'm not taking away from it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in I want to change the world, but I understand that I'm not stupid. I'm fairly intelligent enough to know that I am not going to change the world, me.
Right.
But what I can do is affect a small area. And if that small area, then positivity and change goes to the next area and then goes to the next, then all of a sudden you have a chance to actually change the world.
That's it.
And not because of my back, it's going to be communities that have driven that. And so you go to sociology and you're in that same boat, right? You're suddenly seeing like, you get a kid out of or a person, anybody.
Right.
Out of economic hell and you give them a chance. Sometimes what I think is interesting about sport is that a lot of times sports are that way out, right?
Yes. Yep.
The tricky part is finding that sport where you find that connection. So whether it's downhill skiing randomly in Illinois, that is like, that's one of the most amazing little moments that you got to experience and you get to see and you get to know, but you have to, the weird part is everybody has to go through a journey to get to that spot.
That's right. Yeah.
But some people don't understand that there's a path to that journey, right? Like he's saying the people that were strapped with the probation or, their past, they're victims of their past. They're victims of where they're born. They're victims of, but you can't victimize them, right?
No,
because
that's the worst thing to
if
do.
you victimize them, then guess what happens? Then they just leech on to everything and they stay victims because that's how they get things.
Yeah.
Well, that and then, but you're not. It's kind of a disservice because you don't believe like you can do better,
Right.
and that's doing the work. Is like I tell everybody, people. Even when I was over systems, I was the deputy secretary of juvenile justice. I told the staff, I was like, listen, I believe 100% of these kids can be successful. Now, I believe that. I want you to believe that. Now, reality is not 100% of these kids are ready to be successful, and we just need to work it out. But we have to believe, because we don't know which one is ready to believe, and we got to give them all the knowledge and encouragement to have that awakening in themselves and feel it, instead of this just being a job that you just try and get to next vacation or whatever your personal goals. You have to invest in, and that's the beauty of it, and that doesn't keep them. You don't dwell on the past. So also, you don't want them to dwell on their past.
That's right.
Because you really need to get them thinking about future and what the moment is leading to their future, and that's the only way. But yeah, it's
Well, and a lot of times,
not the victim.
a lot of times their way out is basketball, baseball, or football.
Because
that's all they know,
or stealing or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, I mean, I come from a basketball culture because that's where I was at. I was clearly a minority in the basketball world, but I would go into these places and like see. Like they're playing for their life.
Yeah.
Like I'm just playing because I think I'm good.
Right.
Like there's a different
and you
level.
have options. So like, if this doesn't work out,
right. And my family,
my
family is all in law enforcement. My dad and my brother. So like, I went to a prison, a maximum security prison, played basketball with them.
Right.
The perspective that you get, you cannot get on the street. Like there's no way. Like I'm in there playing with these guys. It's an open gym.
Right.
I thought I was going to die. And I thought everybody there was going to die.
Right.
After the game, everybody's hugging me like we're best friends.
Right.
But it's like there's a different. We as affluent white males and whatever, we can't understand it.
Right.
Like because we were never in that world.
Yeah, fair point.
Like it's hard for us and anybody listening that lives and you close it off like I didn't see nothing. Like you're walking past a homeless person.
I don't know if it's always not see nothing. I do think one of the hardest parts is that understanding that space.
Yeah.
It is what I was talking about experience. It's individual experience that like you have to observe somebody else's. You have to be able, the real trick of any of it is to be able to like,
put yourself in their shoes.
It's to a degree that you can, the best you can.
That's it.
So it's apathy and empathy, right?
Right.
You're getting into
Right.
that, and you have to know the difference. And there's certain ways. That's the thing that's lost the most. And it really comes down to fucking patience.
Yeah.
I mean, people are so impatient. They don't want to take the time to learn. They don't want to take the time to invest. They don't want to take the time. Like we we're joking about earlier. So you guys know at home, we were laughing about some of the younger people that work with me sometimes. Don't get out of the way.
Right.
And we're all having a laugh about
right.
but if you don't take the time to invest in that, your parents invested in you.
Right. Yep.
Believe it or not, whether it was their fault or not, whatever, not fault, but their life choices, you learning to be a hustler for business ends up changing people's lives down the road.
Right.
But it was for a love of mountain biking.
Yeah.
Right? It's all cyclical. And
because you did it
roads-
selfishly.
Right. Yes.
And now it's
But it can if you spin it, and that's the game. Is the perspective is taking enough time to look into it. That's what I find. That's why your story to me, like digging in, I was like, dude, this is like a documentary conversation. Like this is not just a bike
No,
conversation.
can you imagine like a bunch of greasy ass teenage kids piling in a car to go race mountain bikes on shitty ass mountain bikes across the country?
Well, they weren't shitty
Like,
back then. They weren't shitty back then.
They were shitty compared to what we have now.
Oh yeah, well, but at that time they were.
At the
actually,
time, no, I'm
like
saying,
I told you,
no.
I want to ride shitty stuff. That's why I work so hard.
Now y'all know the truth.
But the thing
Comparative.
was, I only had one shot compared to the other kid with the trust fund. Dad's coming in with a trailer. He's got 3 bikes. I got this one bike that's like pieced together, and then living off like borrowed parts. Like,
Right. Well, and I when you were talking about that, like I so related to the idea of guys in a car like rolling out.
Oh, yeah.
And riding, because when I was growing up riding BMX, like I rode BMX
Right. Oh,
too.
yes.
And I watch all these videos all the time, and it's always like all these dudes just roll up to a place and they get out and they don't look like they shower, and and I'm like, dude, these
bikes
are my
coming
people
off all over the place.
Yes,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
like a crappy car that barely rolled
Rolls.
there, and so that was my idea of like everybody's like, well, when you turn 16, you'll never ride again. I was like, no, we're gonna throw all of our bikes in, and
I
we're
can
going
ride more
everywhere.
areas.
Yes.
Exactly, that was me. Yeah.
And that's what it was. Like I remember taking a trip to Louisville to ride their new bike skate park that they put in
cool.
right off of 75, and we got down there, and we're rural Ohio kids. We were overwhelmed. Like we had no business being there, but we're sitting there. There's no cameras. There's no phones. Like there's no proof we were there. There's proof they were there. I have scars.
Right.
Like,
But it's such a fun stage of life.
oh, dude, it's so carefree.
And for me, in a sense of like, I don't know, being naive, or trust, because the people I rode, traveled with and hitchhiked with, they weren't just complete strangers.
Right.
But it's kind of thing I want to have with my kids. It's like, there's still a chance of you overcoming your fear. It would have been a whole lot easier, and I'd probably been happy with my parents. Probably been happy if I just did a traditional thing. Like I had an older brother who graduated med school at 27.
Woo!
And, that was U of I, Biochem, MBA, and University of Pennsylvania med school.
UPenn's tough, man.
Yeah, it was like a top 1 or 2
Yeah,
at the time.
UPenn's tough.
At 27.
You're like, I'm just going to keep riding bikes.
When
Cool.
I hit 27, oh my God. Dude. I barely got into my master's program, let alone finished with anything. But yeah, anyway, but being a parent now, but they knew my journey. Like they knew when everything I was focused in on. Well, even though my dad wanted me to play football, I was a pretty decent football player, but I just didn't love it. But he said, "You really love bikes." I don't understand you on this bike shit, but I'm just, and because my parents came from the deep South, and let alone they were raised in the 30s, so they were all Jim Crow, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like my youngest son is hitchhiking across the country with these freaking random people, and it's not like basketball where there's a lot of more African Americans.
Right.
It's all white folks.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to ask.
So
I was wondering about that.
But I thank my parents so well that they allow me to do it. The first thing they pretty much said, one, they first said no. But the second one was like, all right, I know you really want to do this. You just have to figure out how to pay for it.
Yep.
And if you figure out how to pay for it, we'll let you do it.
Hell yeah.
And then I just really started.
Interestingly enough, that's the same. I toured with a band. I went on tour with a band.
Oh, nice.
With a band called the Bloodhound
I'm sure
Gang.
you got some stories.
Oh God, I can't even tell them on this one. And we went all over the country, but it was the same vibe. As like my parents trusted. Eventually, they said, "Hey, look, you have a decision. You're doing this. Either you stay with them, which is a career path for sure. I would have gone to Europe and all kinds of other stuff.
Right.
Or we'll pay for college if you want to
Right.
settle up and pay for college." And at that point, I wanted to be in film school. That was my goal.
Yeah.
So same kind of drive in that sense. But having someone push you to that point to understand, like I got to go explore, I got to chase the world and see stuff, but at the same time, I also had the ability to make a decision that became mine.
Right.
And I think the key is like making that decision, right?
Yep.
You're racing, you're making decisions all the time, but you're not thinking, you're probably not thinking then about like, you're like, oh, I'm going to ride with Steve and them to the next spot.
Right.
You're not looking ahead as like a manager would to be like, hey man, you've got 6 races coming up.
Right.
We need you to be prepped for the,
exactly.
worried about points.
Yeah.
You're focused on like, where am I going to shred? Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? And
exactly.
whatever's in between.
Definitely so. Yeah.
I think what's great, and our demographic of listeners will agree with this. You're raising children. We are all raising children. Yeah. My parents gave me this whole thing when I was growing up is, you can do whatever you want to do, and we will help facilitate that, but you will never quit it.
Right.
So, like, if you've signed up for it, you will follow through and you will finish it.
Yep.
Right.
And if you don't like it, don't do it again. But we will help facilitate. So, like, I snowboarded, I wakeboarded, I rode BMX, I did all this. But I remember, like, building a BMX bike out of a Dan's Comp catalog.
Oh, Dan's Comp. Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So, like, building all that stuff, but my parents made me do it, like, they bought me a first bike, but you can do it. That's it.
Right.
Like, you got to figure it out from there.
Right.
And I like that, but you went a different level of like commitment than I did.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I'm traveling the whole country and trying to,
and I did, because I got recruited to play basketball. Went to a college I got recruited at. Like, it was a different path. And to me, like, I was passionate about that. I loved bikes. Yeah. Like, there was always that deep rooted, like, love for 2 wheels and love for the adrenaline of it. And I never thought, like, I'm a Midwest kid. I never thought that there was a path. I mean, I raced ABA and MBL stuff and Kettering, but like there was never hey, you can just get on this bus and go. Like that to me, like your story and all of it is amazing because it's like, dude, you had the balls to do it. Like, and the wherewithal to be smart enough to survive it.
And I'm going to ask a raw question, and if we end up deciding to censor it, whatever, but legitimately, because I don't understand the experience, is it intimidating as fuck to be an African American in a sport, especially in that timeline? I don't imagine there was very many black riders, and you're stepping into it. Was it like, was it a weird? What is that? I'll say it rawly. What's that experience like? Because I will never understand it, but it seems like that's a risk in and of itself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
In the woods with a bunch of white dudes. What can go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. The truly thing, I think the mountain bike culture though, it came from like the, Bay Area type group. I think you think majority, unlike probably open wheel racing or even motocross could be kind of conservative. But I think in really 90% of my experience was all positive. I came across, I'm not even going to say it was a product sponsor of a team that was put together and I was on it, made a comment to the manager, just like they weren't quite happy I was on the team.
Ooh,
because they were racist.
That was in the 90s, right?
right.
Yeah,
Not racers.
It was
Not
racers.
racers.
It's just a very important back end.
Yeah. But that was my only. And then every once, one guy kind of said, but really 90% of my experience was all positive. It was, I would never change it. And truthfully, I probably had, it was great. And then every once in a while you have some, because there was quite a few African Americans BMXing. And they'll kind of pop in and pop out, especially if you're doing races on the West Coast. A lot of more African Americans are there. So the sport itself was familiar with it. Mountain biking was still kind of predominantly white, but really Durango was awesome. A lot of people, because it's really
it's chill. It's a chill area for sure.
There were literally probably 3 black guys in Durango when I moved there. And really I had dreads, so we all had dreads.
Right.
So I was probably the only straight edge one with dreads that lived there. So I quickly had to cut my dreads because I started work. I was working.
Yeah, don't confuse me
with kids on probation and parole. I didn't want them to see me.
Right.
I could have swore I saw Girard smoking weed. That kid with dreads. They all look alike. So
especially in a town where there's only 3.
There's only 3 of us. So yeah, we stuck. And all the other 2 are really good. They were like, one was a really good snowboarder and skater. The other one, I don't know, he was kind of more of a drifter, but I think it was a good chef or something. But yeah, but really, even Durango, just living there, it was 100% positive, and that was a whole different vibe too. Just
what's crazy,
really isolating, but really cool.
What's super crazy about like very successful people, like you said, he's a chef or something, or a good snowboarder. Yeah. Like people that are good, that had to work to be good,
right,
are usually better than the kid that pulled up with the dad with the whole trailer full. Right? Well,
there's a hunger, because I definitely, I had 4 knee surgeries. I never had to, I was a worse boyfriend. And for a while, towards the end of my career, like, it was a funny thing because I always knew I could get paralyzed or I could die. And it was funny. I didn't know this. My parents actually, my mom said, they sent me some money and said, they had a burial policy on me. I didn't know that because they didn't know. They knew how committed I was.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And it's easier to buy this than talk you out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they was like, well, even when they were still together, they built a house and had a separate area for me to live in because they didn't know what my future was.
Oh my wow.
Yeah. Wow. Because they couldn't talk me out of it. And even my mom was a close friend to an FBI agent in Memphis, and they were actually trying to diversify the Memphis FBI unit. She even got me an interview to the FBI. Now, this was after I graduated high school, and which they was going to fast track me in even then.
Right.
But at that time, I finally signed my first contract with Schwinn.
Holy smokes.
And there was like no effing way.
Oh, no.
I was going to blow.
No. Not the Walmart Schwinn for you rookies. It's not the
These
same.
These are the Yeti-made Schwinns. And, this one, they had all the World Cups. Now, I was still somewhat of their top privateer. Like, I was on the A group, like flying to Europe, but I had a mechanic. I had a little RAV4 I was driving around. Had bikes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you had bikes and a mechanic.
Think about if you leveled it up to now.
Yeah, right.
Like you'd have a Sprinter van. Thinking perspective.
Yeah. And so, even later when I was a little mature and had that opportunity. But yeah, so the Bears, they told me, we had a burial policy on you. We didn't know what what we're gonna do. We had money side of, for emergency, like if you got paralyzed or something.
At least your parents believed in you.
They did, and they knew how committed I was, and really that kind of helped out later in life too.
I wasn't looking at time for any other reason.
Well, no. I know you got some more questions, so yeah.
So what is that? What is that like? I guess because it's fascinating to me. What is that like from a pressure standpoint? Like when you start getting sponsors, we had a guy on the show, a gentleman named Nixon. He only goes by Nixon.
No one knows him.
No, yeah, Nixon was Cannondale guy.
Oh, cool.
And so a little bit before your era, I believe.
I don't know what he said.
He had to be
20
after.
some years. Yeah, 20.
He was in it for a long time though. But I think his big
He's still
stepping in was before his
Nixon. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry Nixon, whatever it is.
We love
but
it.
Nixon had the same. So he talked about it, and I'm just kind of curious what is it like when you suddenly have this sponsorship level of pressure? Did they give a bunch of guidelines? Was there drives on that side, or was it just like what is that?
Yeah. Well, so I got sponsored by Schwinn, and then my last year I got picked up by Mongoose. So two top rated teams.
You're like on that quality stuff.
But I freaking sucked. And that was the
okay.
I feel like Nixon said the same thing.
I had the best support, the expectation. So before I got picked up for Schwinn, so really I had I raced a total of like 7 years.
Yeah.
My first 3 years sucked, not because I wasn't capable of riding. I just had bad luck.
Yep.
And I may do one race very well or something through those years. And
you were Dak Norton of the 90s?
I guess so, exactly.
Oh, poor Dak.
Poor Dak.
After I graduated undergrad, this was 97 at Fort Lewis, I decided I was going to stay domestic. I wasn't going to travel across country. I'm going to stay in Colorado and do the Colorado Point Series, Pro Point Series. One, it was my best season ever. I was able to ride for a small company called 3D Racing, Chris Herding. I rode for two original welded Yeti builders. Robbie Root was the one, Durango Bike Works, who was in Rad.
Yeah.
He's building some awesome bikes still today, some titanium bikes out of the world I want to get. And then Chris Herding was the other top welder at Yeti when they moved from California to Durango.
Yep.
I was able to, I won the Point Series. It was the first time I had fun. I was able to stay in Colorado and just drive locally to a race. In between the summers, I'd do some day labor jobs, which was it was hilarious. And then I'll go travel, like leave Thursday, go for like a Saturday race and spend the night, and just really had a chance. I fell in love with why I wanted to do the sport and saw some really cool mountains in Colorado because I just slept in Colorado when I was racing and then went to undergrad. And then May from like September, I was just on the road. So I just never had a chance to explore Colorado. So I won that and beat out. Colorado's is stacked with pros and, just talent. Yeah. And that got me on Schwinn. And Schwinn was based now in Boulder. And so I moved to Boulder for a year. But during that time, I didn't know this. So this was what happened. So I blew my knee out one race in Spokane. So I was racing with a blown knee. It wasn't the first time. And so I had a CTI custom knee brace to kind of keep it in place. But what was slowly happening, I was losing my distance vision.
Oh, no.
Now, I didn't realize this until I moved to Louisiana. So I'll go to a race, and I'll be training with the pros. And even like, Miles, Rockwell, and I would train together. I'll go ride a motorcycle with Missy and Elka. We all trained. So I was with a bunch of fast guys, and I could stay with them or even beat them. But when I'm on the track by myself,
oh no, yeah,
you couldn't see the lines.
I couldn't see the lines. And I couldn't tell because I lived in a trailer, so I could see the TV because the TV was right here.
Right.
It wasn't far. It's like I didn't need distance vision living, and I could read. I was a big reader, so I didn't know anything about distance. So for me to use was blurry. So I sucked that year, no eyesight, and then of course they were nice and said, "Hey, Gerard, we're just kind of move on, blah blah blah." I said, I appreciate the opportunity. Actually, I did, and I totally ran forward because I was going to a race, and man, I woke up early in the morning, and it wasn't that I was driving stupid. A herd of deer jumped out.
Oh no!
And I ran into them.
Yeah.
Once again, I probably would have saw the deer in time
couldn't
if I could see further down the damn road.
Yeah.
And I was too dumb. I didn't connect the dots. I
no.
need to get my eyes checked. I was like, well, these deer just jumped out at me. I didn't know, but my eyesight was shitty. So that season went to shit. Then I got on a chance to ride for Mongoose. Mongoose was like, of course, every world champion, Brian Lopes, Eric Carter, all rode for Mongoose, did well. And then here comes Girard. Shitty season. I beat out some guys like in slalom because the course was tall, and I kind of had some good results during that time. I didn't get a chance to ride the Intense. They had me ride some damn thing that they created that they were trying to make a downhill bike. That's why Lopes and Carter weren't riding for them then, because they all had.
You were the guinea pig.
They all had road Intenses, and then they were really, that's how they did not ride for Mongoose that year, because they wanted them to force to ride this new creation. I was so damn desperate. I was like, sure, I'll take whatever you give me. He's like, I'll figure out how to ride it. Horrible piece of crap. But I loved the team manager was cool, but I probably could have done well on the bike if I could have saw the damn course. So really then at that time, shitty season to be expected because I couldn't see the course. Didn't know that. So I went home just devastated. So this was after 7 years working as night janitor at a ski resort, school, work, traveling across country, and really knowing that your career was done.
Oh, no.
Like, I went back, I was like, holy shit, what do I do now? Because I've been chasing this dream. And in your mind, it's like, I can't ride the course any faster. And it wasn't that I was scared. I don't know how fast they're going. But the problem was I couldn't see the damn course.
Right.
The course I was seeing was a different course than everybody else with good eye vision.
Yep.
I didn't know that until I got to Louisiana. And that's a whole nother story. We'll probably talk about that offline. But so when I finally got to Louisiana, I've got my eyes checked. This was after my girlfriend at the time, and now my wife. She's like, you can't see. You need to get your eyes checked. Oh, I can read a book fine. It's like, there's a thing called distance vision. Yeah, because I stopped driving that night.
Oh, wow. It was bad.
I just, so when I got my eye, they said, yeah, your distance vision is shot. You got to get it. Once I got my glasses on, literally, like the world, it's like I came out of a fishbowl.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I could see Christmas lights. I could see leaves. I'm like, oh, my God. And I was pissed because, son of a bitch, I was trying to race like this. And I was like 24.
Yep.
And I had a friend, he created Asterix mountain bikes. Now he's a lead engineer for Sarson Madison. He had a bike company. He had an awesome bike. He was trying to design for me when I was on Mongoose. He said, well, come back and race. I was like, shit, dude, I'm in Louisiana now. Like, my dad just died. I'm in my master's program. I kind of fell in love with this girl. I was like, I can't. It was like, because I knew if I went back, like, my whole life would have gone a different way.
100%.
Yeah.
And I was like, I probably could achieve what I really set out to achieve. But it was kind of like, there was something in the line that said, if I'm not winning the World Cup or a world champion by 24, I'm going to stop. And I was like, I crossed over that. And it's like, I think I just need to move on the next phase of my life. And it was good. It was a kind of good thing because
The good part is you've kept bikes a part of it.
Well, and that's been, it was funny to that. So when I moved back for 9 years, I didn't ride a bike.
Whoa.
For 9 years.
Now, was that one of those circumstances of like, because there was a little bit of maybe heartbreak inside of that?
It was.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
was.
there's stuff that I still won't like.
Yeah.
There's still things I carry that are heartbreak
Yeah.
that I won't go back and touch again.
It was. I wouldn't look at the Vela news. I go. This is before social media. Like, you'll see like Vela. You go to the bike shop. Now I would step into a bike shop every so often. Like I did little road rides, but I wouldn't race. Mm-hmm. But my weight shot up, and then I was focused in on school. So I started my master's and then work, and then it's like, well, I'm gonna start my PhD. So during all that, it was just it was kind of funny. That became my competition, like getting the paper done, getting into a program, and I kind of directed my energy towards that. And it was a lot of hurt. It's like, I don't want to go back to racing, or even and I was kind of worried about how do I balance my life now if the bug hit me again.
Right.
My wife wished the bug never did hit me again, but I try to keep it under control. But I just stayed away from it. And then I got back after I finished my PhD. Like I mentioned, I was like 30 pounds overweight. My health was horrible. And I was able to, they did a time trial race and at my local trail. I said, well, this is like a downhill race. This is cool. It was a lot longer, but so I did that. And then all of a sudden it hit me again. And then what really bit me, nobody knew me. And there was this product. So I passed like 2 people on this time trial race. And so people didn't even know. And I had a mongoose because I was racing for mongoose. That was my cross country bike. And I used to joke with people, oh yeah, I got it from Walmart.
Yeah.
Even though I had like D-Max wheels on and stuff. So they thought I was this black kid for riding a Walmart bike. And I passed 2 people. And I looked at my time and said, man, I should have won this thing. And the guy there that said the best thing to me, but it pissed me off. Oh, all the fast people know who they are here at this course.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I'll be back next year.
Yeah.
So I started training, and then that led to cross country, and and then I fell in love with enduro, and so that's why I'm here now.
Yeah, I mean, and you're like I teed it up at the very beginning. I mean, your enduro stuff, like you're a monster. Like you smash it, and it's interesting because do you feel like you're so? But what got you to enduro? Like this is the thing I love about talking these conversations is you got this great downhill training essentially, and then you good enduro. You got to have good fitness, which is the cross country side of things. You're in the endurance.
I call maturity,
right? But like you get to be this great enduro rider again because of your journey to get there.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen just with a push, right? You have to train to get to that spot. I just think it's a fascinating thing. Like your path has led you. You have like one of these great stories of this. Your path has led you to a spot. I think it's pretty cool to get there. Like some people just meander,
Right.
but you meandered with purpose, whether you realize it or not. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it, I guess, is all I'm saying.
No, it is. Because when I got back into it, I was racing cross country and did really single speed because I didn't want to be. It's like I knew downhill. I had 10 sets of tires to travel around with, different forks, different. All this different spare parts
and
for
you had a mechanic.
Bike. And I had a mechanic. And I didn't have all that stuff,
Yeah.
nor I had the money to pay or even try to do that. So, and then also I'm in Louisiana. It's like there's no downhill courses, and nor I'm going to fly to races and do downhill stuff. So I was like, I want to race cross country, and then I want to do single speed because the single speed class, people with good bike handling skills do well because you have to pump the bike, you have to you have to use the bike in many aspects.
It's a lot of work.
But I fell in love with that, and then it gave me some of the training and stuff like that. And then eventually I switched to a gear class. And then really how I got into enduro, it just became, they started doing the races at Boca Chica. And I was like, man, and also I didn't have the time to train for cross country like I did before. My kids were getting older. And I'm like, listen, it's hard for me to be out of the house every Saturday for 3 hours.
And also, he must be as competitive as me because you can't just show up and race. You have to be in shape to show up.
Listen, if I
that's a thing. That's a thing.
It is. Yeah, no, if I'm gonna go, I'm not the type of person to get a PR.
No,
I want to win the damn race.
That's right.
If Girard shows up to a race, either he's going to blow up or he's going to win the race.
If George shows up to a race, I'm getting back in the car.
But and it's no guarantee that way. But my expectation when I show up to race, I want to do well, but I really want to win it. But it's so I'd still train for stuff, and like so I wouldn't go. That's why I stopped doing cross country. It's like I can't train to be competitive like I want to in this. Nor should I be training with my kids. So enduro kind of worked out the best of both worlds. And I just like the format because I'm able to be on my bike all day, which is kind of fun. Ride different sections of an area and then kind of hang out with people.
It's a group ride.
It's kind of big group ride.
That's right.
And so that it just worked out well, and it brought me to whole other areas in the Southeast like I would never gone to.
Like Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama, perfect example.
I think it's always fun, like hearing your story. I mean, we did the same thing. I talked about being on tour with the band. I'm driving around the country, figuring it out. Yeah. We did the same sort of vibes. Like back then, all kinds of different stuff. But I find it fascinating that all of us, even now as adults, like you drove over here this morning,
right?
But like we'll get in the car and we'll drive over to Bogachito, right? Mm-hmm. But we'll ride up to Jody's place or whatever it may be. Right. Whether it's for a race or prep or whatever,
right.
We still do that same thing.
Right,
where
yes.
We herd up and then we go do something because community is a big part of that stuff. And that's what we talk about a lot on this. In your years of experience, like obviously you're back to the racing to where it's now modern. Those building that bike community is crucial because there's a support system that we all have a similar alliance. We all have allegiances. We all can build each other up that way. You've done it from the professional level all the way through recreational. I mean, what is some of the takeaways you've seen from a community side of stuff that you think is like a standout?
Listen, mountain biking, and even though we don't have a huge team in Baton Rouge, pretty active, a lot of triathletes and stuff like that, but it really gave me a sense of community in Baton Rouge and really in the Southeast. Because I really thought when I kind of moved here, it's like, man, like there's nobody into what I'm into. And in many cases at work, people aren't.
I'm back in Illinois.
Yeah. But that has given me like a sense of place and a kind of belonging in the aspect. And it's just great to see it because no matter, like we kind of talked about this on the group rides, you have doctors, lawyers, scientists, police officers, laborers, construction owners, stuff like that, all just having a good time on the bike.
Yeah.
And finding a commonality, even though life experience can be completely different and sometimes beliefs different, there's a way of having a common understanding. And what the beauty of that, I think it also kind of opens up people to different ways of thinking.
Yep.
And that's what like the racing really brought to me is just that I could still love you because I know you through biking. If I kind of met you on the street and saw you with a political sign and stuff, I was like, man, that dude's an asshole. But really, it's pretty good. And you could kind of keep some of the stuff separate. And meaning I tried and I keep that stuff separate too. But and just finally, people are really good people, and it's nice having a community around the biking because it brings just so many different people to a moment, to experience. And when you go travel, we talk about the safety of travel. You kind of like I knew coming here. I was like, Dale and Drew are awesome because we believe in the same thing about bikes and having fun and people.
Yeah, you don't question
new
it.
people like I didn't know anybody else there, but we all had a good time and it was just a good vibe.
Right.
And I think we don't have enough of that going on, and then be doing it at a way that is somewhat accessible. It's not like we had to pay $300 for golf fees or something like that to play golf or something. We just explore. For me to come into Mobile, it's like adventure. I have a little mini adventure this weekend.
I think I said that to you this morning. Like, there's always that excitement before you hit a new trail.
Yes.
Like every time, like he has no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Like he showed up this morning. I was like, you're on a hill, you don't see the trails.
Right.
So you're
I don't know the dirt, the soils.
No
I don't know
idea.
which route's slippery or not. And I'm like,
Actually, the Todd made a funny joke. He said, he was following you and he was hey, there's a little hip. And he's like, he just floated over it. And he was like, I felt so dumb. Like even giving him advice like about it.
Well, it's always, there's a little bit of a safety precaution because like you bring anybody in from outside.
But
it's a blind trail.
Todd never rode with me. He didn't know.
Yeah,
it was a complete. I'm glad he tried to point it out because
I wasn't. I was like, just follow me.
Because you raced with him.
I raced with him. I'm like, this dude beat me. If I can hurt him, fine.
Exactly. That's gonna make me feel good.
Dirty baseball from Dale.
Hey, that's competitiveness, though.
Yeah, I know that is. So I'm being respectful of time.
Oh man, I'm having fun with you guys. So no
I know you'll get yelled at later. That's how it always works out.
We're all married.
One of the things that so two pieces that I wanted to get into that I think are pretty important. One of the things I did note in reading stuff is and I don't know if it's a formal program, so pardon me if you've done stuff, but it mentioned that one of your goals is to introduce biking to more individuals, like people of color, whether it's Black, Indigenous, whatever, all groups of color, BIPOC. What is that? Is it a program you're working on, or what are you doing to do that? And I'm going to say, because we understand that it's still, I'm not biased, but it is a majority white hobby for the most part. What we found, which has been a shocking thing, is we've gotten a lot. We got all this information from Sorbas and other
Right.
talking about how to make it more inclusive.
Right.
And we're like, that's great. Thank you so much for the tips. Here's our approach. We're just not going to be assholes, and we're
Right.
going to invite people to come ride bikes with us.
Yeah.
Which is all
Quit
you
making
need
it
to
a
do.
point.
And it turns out that works pretty well.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the other challenge though is there is a disconnect of how we've got to instill confidence enough for people to say, hey, wait a second, I want to come experience. So is there what are you doing in that space to kind of touch on all that?
Yeah. So on the biking side, stuff more I want to do. So I think the goal is, I plan on doing some more Enduros.
Yep.
I think the ultimate goal is try to do Vet Worlds here sometime in the next 3 to 4 years. It's kind of time. My kids are 15; they're freshmen in high school and stuff like
Do
that.
they ride?
You know what? I'm gonna get to that. So
That's a
yeah.
All of them are grounded.
No, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Some of it is, but so my goal really is, so when I created Durango Works, so a lot of that is I do consulting, workforce development, really trying to get legacy, get people transition into the green economy, and a lot of it's quite simple. We do a lot of custom modules for, I call it legacy programs.
Yep.
So if you have a diesel engine program, we're able to bring in modules of EVs, high voltage EVs, hydrogen, and stuff like that.
Smart.
Same with electrical. We don't want to see this splintering of an occupation, just solar panel installers. So it's more of encouraging community college, build an electrical program or enhance your electrical program, and then add solar panels, PVs, inverters, and batteries to that curriculum. So get them to be a licensed electrician and understand solar. So that's been a lot of my work for the past 2 years with Durango Works, kind of tied up at that. I have been, I'm on the board of what's called Front Yard Bikes. And Dustin, Front Yard Bikes has been doing this great work of bringing kids in urban areas in Baton Rouge the love of biking. And actually how to work on bikes and stuff like that.
Sick.
So basically kids could really build their bikes and earn their bikes as they go. So I've been really just helping on the board and just trying to get that board and really how to become a bike mechanic. How does that lead to be like a millwright or auto mechanic or EV?
Clever, man. That's very clever.
So I've been working more on the back scenes on that, but I still want to work on more of those kids that are coming in. And there's a lot of there's a lot of urban kids doing wheelies,
Dude, S&M,
BMX, and all this.
bike, or
S&M,
SE bikes, I
SE,
guess.
yeah, it's SE. Not S&M, that's other. Yeah.
S&M is a bike company.
It is a
Those-
bike.
Don't worry, we weren't talking about something dirty.
That's true too. I forgot. I wasn't even thinking about. I was thinking of S&M, the bars, the hoop bars, and all that stuff. Yeah,
He was down the bike train.
but there's another part of S&M too. Yeah, this is definitely not that. But I really want to get those kids out on the trails on the mountain bikes because
Their bike handling is amazing.
there's a bike handling is amazing. But I really like what we're doing with Front Yard Bikes of trying to really exposing. One thing about urban kids, it's not really a black and white issue because I grew up in
We've
rural.
always said it's an economic issue.
It's an economic, but it's just exposure. So urban kids don't have the benefit of fixing a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Because so you miss out some mechanical skills or having a beat up go-kart that you're trying to figure out how to keep running because we're going to store a go-kart in an apartment. So but a lot of these occupations in urban manufacturing so they require mechanical skills.
Yep.
Nor are they teaching them in the school in the applied mechanical skills. So that's what I love about working with Front Yard Bikes. It's like you're teaching kids how to use wrenches safely, leverage, just how mechanics work, a chain, belt, changing tires and stuff like that. One's a life skill because now they know how to use tools. So if they want to learn how to use tools to build a house or become an auto mechanic or become an engineer, now they finally have applied mechanical skills. So my first goal right now with them is just kind of keep that going and kind of help build out Front Yard Bikes on the board. And then eventually would like to work with others. Just how can we get more urban kids out on trails and just get them exposed to that, and then kind of move forward with that. But so far, that's
I think it'd be. I mean, it's genius because it's secretly teaching STEM without like pushing it too hard, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't feel like school. And
Right.
then, as you said, it's applied level, and I think that's a big transition. Like as my kids, my daughter has a affinity for science, but it took her. The light bulb moment was when she saw it applied versus just being taught it, right?
And remember, you got to remember these facts for a test coming up of science. And it's like, ugh, nobody wants to learn it that way.
Yeah, and it's not reality anyway.
It's not exciting.
Right. And then that opens up them to like
Right.
these individuals to real opportunity. And I think that's the key is like there's real opportunity. So it doesn't just mean the game right now, like we have a I won't say who, we have a collegiate client. So they're a university client. So one of the challenges right now is that colleges are basically university numbers are against trade numbers. So you have trade and university fighting back and forth.
Right.
Reality is we need both, right?
Right.
So if you're going to be an engineer, most likely you're going to end up in a university setting and then you'll apply it. But then the trade element is you can make the same amount of money from a trade side, but it may come from that spark. So I think that's a really fascinating approach on getting
Something
this.
that I've been thinking about because we use mountain biking for our mental health.
100%.
All of us in this room, all of us that we ride with. Why are we not doing it for adults? Like, I love the fact that we do it for the kids, but we need to, like, it needs to be encouraged for adults that have never been. When I tell somebody that I mountain bike, they're like, what?
Right.
But they don't understand that it's not the bike that I care about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The bike is a tool for my mental health and my physical health that they don't understand.
Yes.
But I think that there's a way that or there should be a way. I don't understand it. I'm not smart enough. I'm a stay-at-home dad that drinks beer a lot. But there is a way that we can introduce this to adults in a workforce that also like, oh, wait, you empowered them to climb a hill they didn't climb before. Guess what they do at work?
Yeah.
Right.
They do something they didn't otherwise
that's a good
do,
point.
which is also making them successful in a workforce. So it's like, that is so, like, to me, if I had the ability mentally or physically to empower somebody to do that, I would do it. I love it. That's what I love people riding our trails because like, oh, you couldn't do that yesterday. You could do it today. That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, and that's what I love what you all are doing on building trails. So if somebody wants, now they're able to do that more in Mobile. And then how you built the trails too. You have different levels of skill sometimes on the same single track. You get hit the gap over here off to the left, or you could just take this trail without the gap. It's just how do creating special clubs or certain nights and let people. It's kind of like the first, like even like road rides. You have different levels of riders on a group ride. And first timers to the triathletes out there hammering.
Right.
And I think mountain biking, we need to do that more and be way more intentional. I'm really happy what Nina's doing with Sisters Shredders or something like that.
I don't remember what it is, but yeah.
Some with I don't know, some sisters.
Shred Sisters.
Shred Sisters.
Sorry, Nina.
But what they're doing, because that's
I'll put the link in the comments.
That's helping women come to a safe space to get out.
Yep.
I think sometimes when you have these affinity groups or just because some people may feel like, wow, those guys been riding or something like that.
Oh, intimidation in this sport is so big.
Well, and sometimes people can be a little elitist. I hate to say there's one thing I don't like about mountain bike. I think some people is like, well, you're riding at 2600. Is this something? Just.
Well, I mean, we all know the barrier to entry is high.
Oh my Lord!
It's so
these
high.
things are not.
Like we can't
cheap.
show up to a workforce party with a bunch of bikes they can ride.
Right? Yeah.
Like
exactly.
we can't afford that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, but I think this is just making that space. I don't know if that's making more bikes, having more rental bikes at the shops, or some ways loaner bikes or something like that to get people out on it. Because once you do it and then kind of safe group, it's so easy to get hooked and say, well, I could do this in my backyard, and then we could take trips and stuff like that. So yeah, I think for adults, yeah, you're right. I think it's
because I love, and I have this conversation. I had it tried to have with Eric. I fumbled it, but I'm from the basketball world.
Right.
To get on a basketball court, I think we talked about it earlier. You don't just walk on a basketball court and they're like, oh, you're the future of basketball. Here you go.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You have to earn it. But now it's like I appreciate the people that are allowing kids to ride bikes. That's cool. I love it. And I want them to be the future because they are. But I don't know that I'm the guy that facilitates that.
Oh no, yeah, especially on the kids side. But
the adults though, like I can go to a parking lot full of people and be like, come with me. I'll show you something that you've never seen.
Right.
And you'll love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I'm glad there's all these different people that can do these things because I'm not.
Yeah, and I'm people even like I'm gonna say with you. Somebody asked, Gerard, why don't you teach us how to turn? It's like, listen, I know how to turn, and I'm kind of still perfecting how to turn on a bike. I'm not patient enough to teach anybody. It's like what Toby does and what Nina, coaching and stuff. I was like, man, God bless y'all because literally, I literally have to ride, shower, and get back to something my wife wants me to do. Like I don't have, and then maybe sneak a couple races in during the season, but. I just don't have the flexibility of time. And two, I want to get back to my kids. They're 15, so I'll kind of get back to that. So speaking of, you did ask me about my kids. So I have twins. Boy and girl, Miles and Madeline. Love them. I asked my wife, I also love her too. I said that publicly. So
because we're knocking on the time of
my wife, you were on there for an hour, you didn't say anything about me. So love you, Sylvia. Thanks for allowing me to be here today. I had my kids, of course, biker. Before they could walk, just about, I had them in I had a front basket for the kid from one twin, and then I had them in the back seat in the back. So we would go ride around on this beach cruiser. When they were starting to walk, I got them the smallest kick bike to ride in the house, taped up the bolts so they wouldn't scratch our wood floors, and my wife wouldn't cuss me out, and had them ride. At an early age, my son pretty much showed me he was not feeling the bike. But my daughter picked it up. Like she was like kicking and coasting, flowing around furniture like at 2, like feet up, carving, doing stuff. Love the biggest smile on her face when she was on it. And my son just like, God, dude, I do not want to ride this thing. And I think there was a competition thing because really girls pick up stuff quicker, especially balance
my daughter's
sports.
better than my son.
Right than boys, and I couldn't tell him that. It's like her center of gravity is just she's able to pick it up quick. So I think at an early he turned him off because I'm not as good as my twin sister, and I it is what it is. But she loved it. What happened to her, and I thought she was going to be my bike racer, and my son got into fencing. So it's like my parents, like a sport I didn't even know about. Like it's
full circle. It's full circle.
Exactly. If life, I was like, wait, like luckily it's cheaper than bikes, but my daughter, what happened to her? She had epilepsy.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of controlled. I didn't worry about CT brain hits. Like she.
Oh yeah.
And then a couple years ago, she almost died on us. She had called PANDAS, cephalitis in the brain. So her brain got inflamed. Yep. She got misdiagnosed in Baton Rouge, almost died. And she's been recovering from the brain injury. And she started skateboarding actually a couple days ago. Like one of my I was out in the back just trying to figure out how to ollie again. And she was kicking it back again, very quiet. And I'm like, I'm still trying to like, please don't hit your head because your mother's going to kill me. But she's starting to get some of her activities back, but she won't ride the bike again right now. Just I don't know why. She actually rode the bike, took off on it when she was flaring. Like she almost jumped out of a car at 70, and then she like ran out of the house on the bike, and so because she was just out her brain, her brain was so inflamed. But she hasn't been back on the bike. But so maybe in 4 or 5 years I could get her back on the bike. But that's why they're not racing. And it kills me because I see parents and their kids, especially at 15. It's like this was in my mind. I was like, oh man, I could take them to races. They could start doing the kids. It's just not in the cards right now.
Mine will not. They almost and I don't abuse my bike time. Like it's I try and make sure I spend plenty of time with my family, so it's never throwing my kids to the side. I'm conscious of. My dad was big into hunting, and so big like when I hated it. I shot one deer and I was like, I don't need that power.
Right.
That's not for me.
And be out there for a week or something.
I mean, just days. Hardcore, right?
Yes,
but it just didn't connect with me. But he was gone a lot because of hunting season. Like you got to jam in all your fun in 7 weeks.
Yeah, because there's only a certain time.
That's right.
Yep.
But so I'm conscious of it. So I try and make sure to balance out my time with my kids and all that kind of stuff. My kids hate it. They will not do it. It's almost like like they're like vampires towards it. It's garlic to a vampire.
Yeah.
Will not even get near it.
And I'm sure you're a good father. It's not like you're trying to kill him on a death march.
no.
Like, we're going to do intervals today. Hurry up. Come on, pick it up.
No, that's
It's just
me.
yeah, that's him. That's
Come on, man.
that's your sports management degree.
Yeah,
There it is.
it's me, Delegation Dale. See, full circle. We got it
that's
back.
all
I don't want to do these intervals. You're going to do it for me.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but the funny thing is, I just try to break my son. Like, where can I break him?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm like, throw the ball over his head and go in the house.
Right.
Because I'm done.
Right.
Like, I'm
Right.
out, bro.
Right.
Like, you're still going? See ya.
Well, you know your son, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's amazing, though. It's like, but yeah, it is. But I think you plant a seed, and later in their 20s or
Yeah, you never
25, they may give it
Mountain
a friend
biking is
or
a
something.
maturity sport.
It is.
I think it
lifelong
is.
sport,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
it is.
well, no, it's a life sport.
I rode up until I was like 19 or 20. I had a really bad wreck, and it was enough that I was like, yeah, I'm done for a while.
Right.
Right. Just the same thing. I didn't
Yeah.
want to look at a bike anymore. And then I didn't ride for 20 years. I didn't ride again.
Wow, that's
until-
a long gap.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a big gap. And then somebody was like, hey, come back out and ride. And immediately, like getting back on the bike, it was bigger.
Right.
Because I think I was on 24-inch back in maybe 26s. But now all of a sudden we have these 29-inch wheels, and it's a totally different ride. I
is.
missed the whole 27.5 era.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, oh, I remember the skill set, and
Yeah.
stuff started coming back immediately and more and more.
I think mine might have been longer. I quit BMXing when I started getting recruiting in high school. So like 16, 17.
Yes.
And I didn't ride again until 4 years ago.
5 years ago.
5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
never on two
Oh, yeah.
wheels until 5 years ago.
That's a big gap. Yeah.
So, and it was like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Came back.
It's interesting.
It
'cause
is.
It's one of those that just sticks. It sticks to your ribs real well.
But I
is.
think that like the muscle memory of core muscles and things like that stick with you. I think once you learn it and you're proficient at it, then it's just like basketball. Like I played basketball forever. When I quit basketball in college,
Right.
I didn't play for a long time until somebody was like, dude, let's go play and drink. Okay,
Right,
cool,
right.
yeah. So I picked it back up. Well, I was way better at basketball the second time.
Yep.
I'm better at biking now than I was
Right,
back
yeah.
then.
Well, the mental too. You
Yeah.
can visualize stronger, and yeah, it kind of.
It's crazy. It's an awesome. I mean, this conversation's blowing my
No,
mind.
no, I
It's
know.
awesome.
I'm hyped. I wanna. We've learned a long time ago not to Rogan the podcast
Yeah.
because we like to bring people back in. And whether it's meeting you at another race or whatever it is, maybe we'll find an excuse so we can garage our way
I
out of
need
it.
to always an excuse to come on the mobile, man. Do some
And
riding
some
with you.
trails.
Is
to
there-
ride.
Yes.
Yeah, is there anywhere people, because I'll put link to DurangoWorks.com.
It is. Yeah, it's very worth it.
They can go there if they're interested, and that's workforce development. There's a lot of heady stuff that some of we have majority of business owners in this.
Look,
that
he's
are
trying to be nice.
age bracket that would make sense for they're basically older. They make wise choices, but y'all can go over and check that out. Is there any other shout outs you want to do? Do you have are you a social media person? Is there anywhere else that people want to follow and hang out?
Yeah, you can follow me on social media. I think it's Girard Melacon. I don't know, what is my Facebook page? Literally, I think we're at the bike trail. They put in Girard Melacon. You'll find. It's only one of me. It seems like I don't know why in the world, but my parents did tell me I was pretty odd, but
I think it's great.
guess
That's
so.
good.
I think
But
it's
as we would say in marketing, that's great branding.
But definitely shout out to Yeti. They've kind of given me some love or get me back into enduro. Our bikes in Palos in Illinois. Huge shout out to them for really sticking me. When I got back on enduro, they helped me get back. I only had a cross country bike, but they were able to send me some Yetis to demo and kind of get a feel and get me into enduro. So that's good. Definitely Rock Shock. I've been in Rock Shock off and on for almost when I was racing, and then now almost like a 20-year stint. So
there you go.
So a lot of family there that helped me out over the years, and love the new Zeb and the Sid, the Deluxe Ultimate rear shock is awesome. And everybody, I'm glad to you and Dale and Drew. Thank you for the invite, man. It's fun hanging out with you. So,
Dude, actually, I
Yeah,
don't know
you're welcome whenever you want.
honestly, I don't know why you're here because I read your bio to my wife and she was like, look, so you can ride bikes and look how successful he is. And I was like, no, No. Listen.
Let me tell you.
See,
success.
somebody somewhere thinks that's a joke, and I happen to know for a fact that it is not a joke.
No. That's 100% happened in my house.
Listen, she could call my wife to see how truly how successful I am.
You know what we need to do is you can bring your wife and we'll find something. We'll go do something fun. But I swear to God, if we had a podcast where you put the wives on and they talked about what it was, I just would wonder what. And we don't listen to it until it comes out.
We'll have Justina produce it.
Yeah, yeah, that could be the wildest,
most boring conversation ever.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, listen. Speaking of, so I don't know if this last thing. So speaking of wives,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but I didn't want to put it on my insurance because, so in May I was on morphine drip. What happened? There was the BMX trails, huge gaps and all that stuff. So I ride my enduro. Something that I did I knew the trails very well, but super peaky jump. Like my front wheel hit the top of the backside of one, and I went face first into the next set. They were tight. I curled up. I was still clipped in, hit, and this was like one of the hits. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not ready to die yet, because I had
you can
kids.
see it happen.
Yeah, because I was like, or paralyzed, and when I hit, it was type one of those hits like, fuck, don't want to try to move my hands. Moved my hands. I was like, all right, I'm not paralyzed. Moved my feet. Okay, I'm not paralyzed. Adrenaline's pumping through me. What ended up happening, I almost tore my aortic valve out of it. I broke ribs 1 and 2 up here, like next to the back. The cardiologist said, they work on LSU football players, car accidents and stuff. So nobody for 25 years, they're twin brothers, have we seen break 1 and 2 of ribs without being dead. I'm like, fuck, that's not good.
Oh my God.
The day before that, I was supposed to be I'm on these national boards. I was supposed to be in Monday. That Monday, I was supposed to be in DC. So I got a steroid shot because I had a sinus infection. Broken ribs with trauma to my chest cavity. So all that stuff was dripping and coughing.
Oh my God.
So I had to go rush to the emergency room. My wife was telling the doctors, don't give me fucking morphine. I want him to feel that fucking pain because of that freaking bike. No sympathy. I was in pain, like coughing, hurt, like somebody like ripping my chest.
Oh my God.
My rib, like the doctor said, we can't even plate that because we have to cut up all this. Like to even plate the 1 and 2 ribs, we couldn't even get to it without causing more trauma. So, yeah, I was laid up in May. On morphine. I had to get the morphine. And then I had to breathe because my lungs were collapsing because it was hard to take deep breaths without capsules. So back to the wife. That's my wife. So you see her. she was like, I said, hey, I'm going to go do some riding. I'm going to do some podcasting. Are you jumping again? I said, no, I want to keep it safe. We're not doing those type of jumps. And but
not those type of jumps. Asterisk. Us bike guys know those type of jumps is a different type of jumping. Sorry, Sylvia. That's just a joke. That he didn't jump anything today.
No,
he was perfectly fine on the ground.
Yeah, we were riding greens and with training wheels.
And it's very flat.
Very flat.
It's like
No rocks. No
just
grass was dry. So
straight out.
But that's the wife story. That's my wife. So of course we need to get out so I can get back so I can make it to church. So I don't get
so you don't get in trouble. Yeah, you should.
But no, it's been fun. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us. Always, you're welcome whenever. We'll probably, like I said, I'd like to do some stuff like just catch back up because there's like 10,000 more questions, and I think you naturally are a good communicator. So thanks for hanging out. I'm sure there's thousands of things we could be like, I should have said that or asked this.
Yeah. We'll get it.
A good conversation leaves you wanting more.
Well, let's come back. Yes.
Yeah. So let's figure out a time to do that.
Yes.
And with that, I'll just say, just remember what Dale Boyd says.
Hey, follow your dreams, kids. Don't settle at what's in front of you.
Amen.
On the way.